You know what? You never forget it. You never forget it because there's nothing like it. This is Mount Panorama. This is Bathurst.
As soon as you head out on this mountain, it is total commitment for every single millimetre.
Looks like last cars are gridded up now.
If you can't make the judgment call 120 metres into 1,000 kilometres to just be a little bit sensible, don't start the race.
The Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 erupts.
And the charge to turn one.
Okay, it's a great corner, second gear. The engine's right in its sweet spot. But remember, whilst you've got to carry mid-corner speed and use that exit curb, you want to get to 100% throttle early, so don't get too greedy. Don't get caught up in the moment. The moment is 6 hours later.
Side by side up mountain straight.
If I can offer you one free bit of advice, every single time you exit the pit lane, you grab your belts and you tighten them. And every other lap you think of it, you tighten them again. And after a pit stop, whether they've changed the brake pads or not, tattoo it under your eyelids. Pump the brake pedal, because if they put the pads in and you forget,
Fuel on the road.
you're a goner. Yeah, Griffin's Bend, right? It's one of the toughest on the circuit. If you don't get this one right, psychologically, you're gone for the rest of the lap.
Big hurry up.
It's about 260 on the way in, remember? And you've got to knock off 130 k's an hour. But you've got to do that on the bumps on the way in. But let me give you a tip. When you're challenging for Griffin's Bend, either make the commitment or get the hell out of it. We're approaching the cutting. If I can't tell you anything simpler than this, there is one racing line up there. Make sure you're on the tram tracks. There is no room to put your front right tyre even a foot outside of where it needs to be.
The track is jammed.
Idiot, I'm sorry.
When we come up to Reed Park, you need to hug the wall. Put the car right over there, hard on the wall, but be careful, don't overuse the curb on the inside. It'll feed you into the wall.
Drama here.
This is a great part of the circuit where we go from going up the hill and we transform to going down the hills. And no more beautiful sight than your revs in front of you, bang, 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 bang. So we're out of Reed Park and now we're going to head down to that damn grate, right? It's a horrible, dirty drain up against a wall on the right-hand side of the circuit. Now, the problem here is you've got to commit really, really early. And you don't know, because nowhere in Australia does your front tyre and your car get more downward load than at the grate. You don't know way back then if your power steering is going to suffer it or it's going to give up and feed you into the fence. So we've got through the grate. We're now heading through Sulman to McPhillamy Park. This is Mount Panorama. This is where you need to be thinking corners ahead of where you are. You can't see the roadway up ahead, but you're going to average from the cutting all the way to Skyline around 200 kilometres an hour. This ain't kids' play.
Big moment.
So you've got through the top of the mountain, you've done the tough driver stuff. Now, throw that bit away, you're going to be a ballerina.
That's the view from Skyline. Go for broke time.
You're going to need to dance all the way down through the S's
The descent starts.
until you arrive at the dipper. And when you get to the dipper, yeah, sure, it looks really cool with two wheels hanging up in the air. You can't get the throttle on, can you, with two wheels in the air? Get the thing back on the deck. And the moment your rear tyre hits the ground is the same moment your right foot hits the firewall. Now weave through the concrete walls, but don't get too clever and trying to get an inch away from them. There's nothing to be gained by doing that. Forest elbow. This is the second time and the only other time in the lap that you're not going to feel your front tyres. You're going to come over the little crest there, downhill, and 1.5 tons she won't want to pull up.
Oh, look at this!
So this is where you need to be really measured, slow it up, because your big drama here is going to be understeer. The car does not want to turn there.
They're tagging!
For goodness sake, be aware of what's going on around you. If there's one gap you can leave open for your competitors, it's right there. Think about this. You need to either position yourself out right, commit yourself to Conrod Straight and your top speed, or you're going to need to defend, because that is one of the great spots for attack. And if you're going to defend, there is nothing surer you are going to compromise your straight line speed. So if you're going to defend, you defend. You block him, you pull him up, so you get your foot to the gas first.
This is wild. This is as fast as it gets.
300 kilometres an hour.
Now, I don't care what cars you've driven in your career or where you've driven them. There is nowhere else that you're going to go where 1.5 tons of race car at 300 kilometres an hour actually feels like 1.5 tons of race car at 300 kilometres an hour. And you're approaching what is the fastest corner in Australian motorsport, the Chase. You want a tough bit of roadway? That's it. You want to talk about commitment? This is it. You come down here and you'll see there's 1 metre of tarmac that's been laid down on the left-hand side of that for you to use every single millimetre of it. If for one lap you do not go out there and use that,
That is an almighty crash.
you're going to compromise your lap time and compromise your result. So you need to use that every lap. And why do you need to do that? You need to get the car around there at 300 kilometres an hour. Do not lift your right foot off the throttle until the car is squared up, and when it is, and only then, you put your foot on the brake and you push it so damn hard that you want to bend the brake pedal.
He goes, he's into the side of him. They run into each other. He's blocked out brake. He's going to redress. He's going to redress. Oh, no, they're all gone. This is huge in Australian motorsport.
Last corner. So you've got 6 kilometres of the 6.213 kilometre circuit done. Do not get it wrong here.
This kid is going to win this thing today.
Finish the job right now.
Will Davison might get this done. Nothing in it. He wins it by a car length.
So that defines this mountain. That defines this race. Do you want to win it? Everyone wants to win it. If you can't first beat the mountain, you will never win this race.
Weeks of preparation for the teams out the way. 3 days of qualifying completed. The time has come for everyone to really show us their cards and prove what they are capable of for the next 6 hours of racing. 30 drivers piloting 14 cars around this revered 23-turn 6.213 kilometre circuit for 161 laps in the quest for Bathurst 1000 glory. Good morning everyone, I'm Jarman Dallitz, your lead commentator for today's race. It should be set to be a big one, and joining me today also in the commentary box is Nicholas Patasso, also known as NSpud P666. Good morning, Spud. Glad to have you with us here today for what should be set to be an absolutely cracking race. Yeah, it's certainly a pleasure to have you join us, and of course you're always welcome here in the commentary box, so glad to have you here. Should be a brilliant race, of course. I know Spud went to great lengths to get here yesterday for the top 6 shootout, and I hope he's certainly well rested after what was a very long hike through the Blue Mountains after his car broke down. I'm hearing that there's a Trackstars mascot that gives good massages, so I wonder if he was loaned out to Spud to help recover. Yes, of course, that being Mint Matt, again, sort of flexing his speed across this Gran Turismo 7 game and taking another pole position. I believe that's probably, I think it's his third one across the 5 endurance races now, of course, being... That was weird. Okay, there was... obviously the pole at Kyoto last year, and I believe he missed out at Bathurst as well and then didn't participate at St. Croix, and now he's taken 2 on the trot here at High Speed Ring and of course Bathurst 1000, so he'll be very pleased to be sitting on pole position this time around, and hopefully he'll be looking to convert it into victory as well, but there's going to be a number of drivers that are going to have a say about that. Yeah, so that one is in honour of EBM Brandosa's dad, who sadly passed away recently, and yeah, so Brandosa came to us saying, basically told us what happened and discussed the idea of maybe putting something on the windscreen, but we thought we'd go a little bit above and beyond with that and give it a bit more recognition on the bonnet in a position that maybe it might be a little bit more visible to everyone on stream, and then they can see what Brandos is racing for over today's race, and also the rest of the team as well who are along with him. And I believe the Robo Sport Racing crew have also jumped on board behind the initiative, with Brandosa previously racing for them in the 2020 version of the Bathurst 1000. Of course, Brandosa did partner up with Speedy Tyres to take the win on that occasion. Looks like he slept through the numerous wake-up calls and alarms, or maybe just forgot to set the alarms.
You have for the first stint, it's going to provide a lot of interest to see how many, obviously so many factors. One, how many safety cars will be at the end, will be during the race, and as well who has the bigger capacity in the fuel tank to only do a short fuel stint and then bring the car home to the finish line. It'll be very interesting to see what drivers have been setting up their cars with and how they're able to get the most out of their fuel tank, so they can spend less time in the pit lane and more time on the racetrack.
And so, if you're unfamiliar, we mentioned there a 42-lap stint. Of course, the Bathurst 1000 is run over a duration of 161 laps, and it is divided into 4 different races here within Gran Turismo. You might be thinking, well, you're doing multiple drivers, aren't you? Yeah. How are you doing that on a game without driver changes? Well, this is how. We do a 42-lap race at the start. Race 2 Stint 2 can either be taken by the same driver or indeed driver number 2. That is a 24-lap stint. Race 3 is 35 laps in length, and then the final dash home will begin on lap 101 of the official race. The last 60 laps of racing will be the final race within the game, race number 4, as it were, and a minimum driver time of 59 laps, so everybody has to contribute a fair lick to their car's ultimate result. That does mean that the carry job can only be so significant if you have a stronger teammate. It really is a team sport, this, keeping the car out of that wall, even though we've seen people crash into walls and win. See the 2014 Bathurst 1000 real life. It is imperative to just get those laps in these first 3 stints. Make sure your car is there and your teammate has a good position for the final stint.
Yes, and now I believe that they're ready for us down at the track for the Australian National Anthem before we get underway with this race. So let's cross down and get the National Anthem played, ready to go for the race.
We cannot wait to get this race started underway in just under 2 minutes time here as we run through the grid quickly. We've got DJ SX pointed alongside Mint Matney piloting the car 95 that's taken out pole position. Alongside it's his best mate in Diswood 1 with Lunacy, the surprise package as the co-driver for Diswood 1. But fortunately Brocky not joining us for Bathurst. He's picked up Lunacy instead. Morgan Davey, the surprise of the top 4 shootout fellas. Morgan Davey coming through in the 55, setting a blistering lap time, and he'll be partnering alongside as the likes of Sir Slayer and Gabans. The only team to field 3 drivers is the 55 and the 13. Jerem 50 and Captain Muffin making his debut for the Enduro racing here at Mount Panorama Bathurst. And then we have the back crew in P5 and P6. The non-qualifiers for the top 6 shootouts, Speedy Tires getting that disqualification for the late entry, but he will be out for redemption. Keep an eye on him on the race start as he's alongside Captain Risky with Cylon 96, partnering up Raddick McCawhead. Good quality. That's going to be an underdog car there. Viper Z, a very shocked surprise by the 56, not able to get the lap time that they needed to get into top 6 shootouts. So Viper Z and Rid1 F1, we can't wait to see what those guys can do in the 56 with Ando 787 partnering alongside myself and Spud P666 in the 32 Ultipac Mash Spuds Racing. The late driver in Roses substituting Adam Weller to pilot the number 964 with Nightwalker 964. We cannot wait to see what WRT can do on their debut Bathurst 1000 with Slappers Mate and Loudy Dark Mist rounding up the top 10, the WTCC boys in the RoboSport entry 156. Oz Soul Reaper in the number 151 partnering alongside, or can't remember on the top of my head who's along, I forget who's alongside. Ah, yes. Sorry, I do apologise, Aussie. There we go. P11 for Aussie Hypnotic. But as we go through 12th, 13th, and 14th, they'll be lining up towards the rear with 34 and 22 starting at the rear of the field as we get ourselves ready for the start of the race.
So they go up towards the cutting for the first time, and Morgan Davey there stalking the pair of Hondas. He is the first of the Lexus runners there in third position. The first of our Nissan GTRs is running down in fifth place. That is in the hands of Speedy Tyres. He looked like he may have just hit the barrier there.
Morgan's in the wall. He's made contact on the left-hand side going through Solomon Park, and he's just made massive contact with his car. I felt, unfortunately, no engine damage from Morgan Davey, but that's a costing. And then we see DJ going down the escape road there, so he's also got damage as well. So chaos amongst the start of the grid as DJ's trying to park it up so the drivers don't collect him. But what a chaotic start for DJ and Morgan Davey. But one man that hasn't been that got the perfect launch belongs to Dishwood 1, so he's already put himself 4.8 over Jerem 50. So the CP cars in first and second place with Speedy Tyres in third, Morgan Davey with the damage in fourth, and Cylon rounding up the top five.
Huge developments then in the first lap of the race. If you're unfamiliar with our format here, these are not standard Group 2 specification cars. They're running at practically 850 brake horsepower. They have the large RPM, the high RPM turbo on the car. They're incredibly difficult here on the mountain. And to cap that off as well, you mentioned the safety car there. The safety car is only triggered in these events in the event of engine damage. And it doesn't look like anyone has suffered engine damage on that first lap of the race. Therefore, we are still under green flag running. And look at the gap that Dishwood has. As he rightly said, it was 4.9. It's now out over to 5.2 seconds. Jerem up to second place. Speedy Tyres up to third. And I didn't spot anyone going into the pit lane, which really surprises me, given the sheer concoction of incidents and accidents. Ah, never mind. I'm mistaken. That level of time loss on this lap from Dram tells me that maybe he's had a bit of a moment as well. The car is still clean, so it seems as though maybe Jerem is just driving through the mirrors a little bit here, watching Speedy Tyres in the background. Let's see if Speedy has the tow now as they head towards the chase for the second time of asking. It's early doors in the Trackstar's Bathurst 1000, but already we're side by side through the chase on lap 2, and it's a move for Speedy Tyres into second place. We're so impressed with Speedy yesterday up against Mint Matt. He now runs in second.
brilliant move there by Speedy Ties. They need to get that done early, so otherwise he'd be caught on the back of Jeremy 50. But now he's after his former teammate in Diswood 1, Speedy Ties, the man that got disqualified from the top 6 shootout. He's the man on the charge with his teammate in Viper Z hanging around in 4th place as well. So a solid start by Viper Z, as we see now. Finally, Morgan Davey makes a pit lane journey, and unfortunately for him, that damage was not able to repair itself. Alongside with Roses as well, picking up rear left damage, but maybe a little clipping at the top of the hill, as we see the Robbo Sport boys in 9th and 10th place. EBM Brandosa making some moves as he looks for an inside move on Xylon. No, now he does, yes. So Xylon didn't look like the move was on, but he looked like he just made it, and Xylon ran the car a little bit too wide onto the marbles, which is easy to do. Very tempting to run around the outside, but unfortunately there's very lacking of grip on the outside of Griffin's Bend. Unfortunately for Xylon, he drops back, and EBM Brandosa gains a few positions after starting in 13th place.
Wasn't the smoothest overtake I've ever seen, that much is for certain. He got front damage on Oz Soul Reaper there, so his car is looking more than a little bit second-hand at the moment. Brandosa following Broccolilli at the moment for 6th place, and into the pits with damage has come Diswood. Now, we didn't see exactly where that happened, but I thought the car was still clean as he was going over the mountain. I wonder if he's had an issue in the final sector.
Very interesting pit stop there by Diswood 1. So obviously the damage is very sensitive on Gran Turismo 7, and the walls are very close, and drivers want to really exploit it. Want to exploit the track limit and try and get as close as they can to the wall. But a slight graze of the wall, unfortunately, will get you damage on these cars. We see Diswood 1 dropping down to 10th place. How far will he drop back down? Will he drop back down to where Morgan Davey could be? Would it be in front of Morgan Davey? It looks like he's just got the margin, and he doesn't look like he didn't get damaged very early in his lap. So it looked like it was towards the end, and he still maintained a huge gap over Morgan Davey.
Well, Woodsy rejoins the race then in 10th position, and he's going to have to work hard from there. He owns the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:45.1. Quite a few drivers have not yet had the opportunity to actually put in a proper race pace lap, avoiding collisions and other people's incidents or having incidents in their own right. And that is so often the story of these races. And engine damage for Viper Z. Viper Z has found a wall somewhere out there, and he has engine damage.
Very crucial for these guys to keep on racing until the safety car driver type in SCs. These moves are very critical, and we will see some passes from some drivers before the safety car is called out. But Viper said looked like he got caught out. Looked like it was before maybe during the skyline and through the dipper. And there we go. There is the safety car call. But luckily for Viper said he is really close to the pit lane, so that won't really affect him too much, I wouldn't think.
Lose track position, but at this early stage of the race that means so little. We've seen it here in the Track Stars Bathurst 1000, people coming from seemingly unassailable places. We've seen people win from a lap down in the Bathurst 1000 in supercars. Certainly the race anything but over right now, but safety car conditions will be a blessing for many, including Wood, including DJ, and of course the man who has triggered this first safety car period of the day, that being Viper Z.
Amazing start for Speedy Tides, keeping the car clean and watching the accidents all unfold in front of him, with DJ and Woodsy all having separate incidents of their own, and Morgan Davey as well in those early laps. Speedy Tides has managed to keep his car clean, and he's leading the way with Jeremy 50 in second place. So that move that Speedy Tides made going down into the chase was very, very critical, very crucial to be in the lead of his early stint of this 42-lap race. We've got plenty of more